put it as. And I request CA Nitin Sachdeva to come out to the dais, and as well as CA Ganesh Kumar BN to come out to the dais. Ms. Nitya will also be there, and any audience having any questions, you could clarify this and ask the panel over here. Mic kodi alli mic kodi. Your audience, the panel is here, and any questions you have, you are free to ask, and they'll be happy to answer all their questions. Sure, you could do that also.
So I see we are still very shy when it comes to initiating the discussions. So the people who are sitting here are the people who are really interested in the talk. So I should make the best use of their available time with the experts sitting along with me. So as a new area of practice for us and as a specialized field, I would ask Nitya to give the opening remarks on what is the future for chartered accountants, and can chartered accountants scale up? And if yes, how can they be market ready with their skills which are ahead of the industry, and we can create the same impact what we have in our regular practice?
Sure, thank you. I'll try to do justice to the question, because I'm not entitled to answer what is the future of chartered accountants, but I can take an attempt at how they can kind of be ready or future-proof themselves, be ready for the future, right? And it was what I also mentioned about the 3 A's, right? They need to, first of all, be aware of what's happening, right? Rather than kind of staying in dark that, nothing is happening, it's business as usual for me. No, the entire world is changing. There's an entire technology wave which is taking us by a storm, right? Second one is accepting that, it is going to change the way you guys are doing your job, right? If you continue to do the way you are currently doing, right, manually consolidating documents, invoices, challans, etc., right, and you're happy doing that, you're soon going to be outdated, right? Talk about Nokia, right? You guys know about Nokia, right? How it went out of business because they were pretty slow in innovating to the smartphone technology, right? So I think the same is applicable to us as an individuals also, right? And whatever we do, right? I as an IT person and you guys as CAs, right? And the third one is, in fact, after accepting that it is going to radically change the way I should be doing my stuff, adopt to it, don't be shy. I know that, in fact, I know I can quote my father, he was a government servant, until his retirement, he used to be scared of opening a laptop and working on it, whereas his both the daughters, that is me and my sister, we are software engineers. So I think it is that that block that we need to kind of move away from, that ye mujhe nahi aayega, I'll not be able to do that, right? So everybody should kind of be very open, have a growth mindset, learn what it takes in order to adopt to this particular technology. If it requires you to acquire new skills, please do it. It's not a rocket science, right? So these are the 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and adoption, that all of us need to do in whichever respective streams we are in, so that we are future ready. And this is for the CAs also.
Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think Nitya madam has already put out the case where being redundant if we do not accept that it is going to radically change. So accepting it, at the same time making sure, being ready that all of these transactional things that what our fraternity is doing, if we do not bring on to a newer methods, as she said, we're going to be outdated or probably out of jobs. There's no second thought about it. Just to add on to it, I think what do we do other than what we are currently doing? So that's something which which is one of the most asked questions to me. Ganesh, all that you have said is, it's all changing, it is going to change radically, it is going to make impactful. But what else is there for us to look onto the table? So that I would say individually each of our practitioners, each of our lines of industry wherein which we have evolved has something very detailed which we have gathered over years. We should be trying to build over it rather than completely jumping onto a new skill set. Somebody was asking, should we start getting into building models, building coding? Should we start doing? I said, no, it's too late. We shouldn't be jumping the ship now. We are good at something. Let's dig deep. We have dug probably 100 feet. There's no point digging another 100 feet somewhere else. Dig another 100 feet in the same place. You're gonna get water, and it's gonna be flourishing.
Great example. And one more thing, Nitya touched about cyber security and data security, database management. So this is a key area where we as chartered accountants, as professionals, we are already working in the space as compliance officers, doing the compliance management stuff. We check the document requirement. And believe me, friends, I am a cybersecurity auditor as well. And I do a lot of stuff with the companies out there. It's nothing technical. You just need to have the understanding of the regulations of the requirements. And if, like initially what I started, I didn't have the skills to understand the technology side of it. So I onboarded a couple of people from the company, from my own company, and one person from outside as a consultant as well. And they helped me frame those initial questionnaires. And in those customer meetings, they went with me as my team. So we need to have T-shaped skills as on date. T-shaped says like you have to be an expert in your core domain, but at the top level, at all other sides, you need to have additional skills acquired. Like the LLMs, what we are talking about today, everyone is kind of getting into that rat race of trying to create their own things, their own solutions. Whereas people who have already created those solutions, let's try to build our professions, our practices on top of it. Because we as professionals are not tuned to earn money on the products of these kinds. Everyone is not fortunate like Ganesh to have built such a beautiful product which could be used by other chartered accountants. But the value delivery is by the use of those products, how we can generate additional value for the clients and the clients who are out there with us. If I make sense here, we don't need to reinvent the technical side of it. We just need to understand how to best utilize it. And if we don't have the time to learn, we have team members who are available on call as consultants. We just need to have strong NDAs with them, strong contractual compliances in place with them, and we can utilize those tech experts. So this is how every small COE also starts. So I requested for creating COEs internally in your offices. Let's try doing it one COE at a time. My contact details are here. I can help you create those COEs. I have complete SOPs for that. And I would be happy to have a Teams call with you. Just in 15 minutes, you'll understand, oh, this is not rocket science. This I'm doing it day in, day out. And for the security aspect, ma'am, you said about VectorX format and the other things. There are a lot many tools which are available which have those securities embedded. Like for the documents, you can have your documents, secure documents from your client location embedded in your portal, which would be on the cloud or on-prem as per regulatory requirements or as per customer requirements. And you can fetch data real time from those sources instead of going to the web. And these sources would be secured in your own environment itself. So that's very easy. Everyone has a central server at their office, right? Not every chartered accountant puts data on the cloud. So that is kind of an on-prem thing what we can talk about. So we can have the location for those files which are out there from the client side at the client end, or the source files, or from your location internally at your office. And then you can play with those details, firing queries, and the hallucinations which are out there, they are also significantly reduced and kind of come to zero with these good tools which are out there. Madam explained the requirements on technical side. So we as chartered accountants are not required to go much deeper into it, but we can rely on technical consultants and certification agencies who vet these products and tools, and we can go ahead with them. And if we have strong NDAs in place, we are all professionals, we can have strong NDAs in place with the service providers, which will help us make sure that we are compliant at all times. Any question? Yeah. Yes.
Sir.
See, when the when the Open GPT takes the data, it takes the data from anywhere across the globe. You don't know like who has put that data, what is the source. We say like Google it, but Google from the authentic source. So when you have restrictions put on the system that okay, it will have specified source from which the data would be fetched and the analysis would be done by the portal. Like the documents which are secured in your own environment, the system will go and fetch the data only from those documents which are out there. So that way, they are completely eradicated.
Ma'am, my question is whether AI bring peace of mind, one thing. Thing is, AI or automation has replaced so many physical labor. For example, Tesla, see manufacturing of car example. So in India, I mean, mostly it is automated. So the number of employees from 3,000 may be coming to 100. So Tesla almost, they made it complete automation. So where only 10% enough to manufacture, monitor a gigafactory. So 10% versus 3,000. So what will the impact on the whole population of 6 billion or 7 billion, maybe in another decade? So what will be the perspective of the other people who are out of technology? And the session handled by Ganesh sir, where he was telling that technology, how it is impacting CAs. So there was, a fear created in my mind. So whether it will bring a peace of mind as a profession or as a human being for a common person, because I find myself and my wife are professionals. So we are more stressed than our parents who are not educated, happily living in a village. So they are more peaceful than us. So whether AI will bring some impact on the lifestyle of the human being. So rather than it is accounting, I just want to understand whether what impact it has on the lifestyle of the human being.
But I will let the person who is responsible for that confusion to answer that. I'm going to escape from that. But my
one
two
more thing
cents,
I will add,
yeah.
ma'am. See, the 10% is, it is not that completely people are away. There are 10%. See, top 10, the fittest of the survival, okay. So the 10% are surviving. That doesn't mean that 2,900 persons are not fit. They are good in some other thing. But when machines take over, so what will be in a rat race, is it we are missed out somewhere? And that makes stress, that puts stress on the professional. So that angle I just want to.
So, two things I'll just say before I pass on to the perpetrator here. So, sorry. So, so one thing is that, you would have heard this is a cliche, but this is the fact, right? So we heard this kind of I would say a self-pessimism when calculators were invented, when steam engines were invented even before that, right? So, but the world didn't stop to exist, right? Population didn't go down, right? We are like expanding, and people are finding newer things to do, newer problems to solve, right? Things they never thought could be solvable because they were technology crippled, right? There was no automation. Now with automation, now with the speed of compute, right? And with all of this generation power, There are many more things that people can solve. It would be a transition. It will be painful. I'm not saying that it is a piece of cake, right? But think from the, don't think from the angle of the loser or the pessimist, think from the angle of the winner or the optimist, that this change is going to give me tremendous amount of potential where I can go and play. These were the areas which I never thought existed before, right? So, for example, right, even he mentioned, Ganesh mentioned that let's create products for the world, right? Let's innovate for the world, right? These were not possible because we didn't have technology access earlier, right? We were busy. All of us have got 24 hours. We were busy doing, you know, the summarization activities, the documentation, the mundane tasks, the repetitive tasks. Now we have got that reduced to 10% of our time. What do we do in the remaining, 90%, right? Solve for the problems which really are impactful and, which really matter, right? So I think I'll stop here and I'll ask Ganesh to add what he really meant when he, made that, what was that visual, right? Rocky visual, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So the perpetrator is about to start his. So I just want to understand what's the confusion on the statements or the opinion here. If I have scared any of you, probably I would only say from the realities that I have seen, right? It could be my opinion, but at the same time, I was talking about driverless cars, right? Now, as consumers, we are all happy, good, we are embracing technology. But what happens to those livelihood which was purely dependent on driving? Are we in denial that their jobs are lost? Come on, we can't be taking this stand wherein which we say that it's revolutionizing, at the same time it is embracing. Yes, at the same time, what's happening across is, there's somebody who is giving, somebody who's receiving. Both the things are happening together. Where are we? Are we at the receiving end? Are we at the giving end? Is what it matters. See, for me, keeping aside all the jargons that I spoke, all of them, for me, what matters to me is, you are asking, can I sleep peacefully? Let's be in reality, or if it is in philosophy, we are all living for a bread and butter that we just need to earn for the end of the day. If that's hitting, isn't that a rocky scene that I talked across? I mean, that's all my point to put across, right? So I believe farming has greater capabilities. Probably many of the AIs would not get into that, at least in the next 10 years, maybe. So yeah, we can do a lot of farming and have a lot of peace of mind. That's on a lighter note.
So I can add a little perspective to that. Basically, see, we have to learn how to pivot ourselves with further acquisition of additional knowledge and skills, and go one step beyond that. Like he said, everyone is working on the core thing for bread and butter. But practically speaking, the bread and butter which our parents earned was much less than what we are having today. Fortunately, unfortunately, whatever it is, but we are not satisfied. Why? Because we have drowned ourselves in the rat race of looking at others, what others have. So initially, when a chartered accountant starts the career, the thought process is, I should get a decent apartment and a good car. But immediately after getting the good car, I need a bigger car. So, like, I practiced as a chartered accountant for 18 years, and then as a fraud examiner for 3 years, and then I pivoted myself to be an agile trainer as well. And now I'm running a listed entity. It's already listed on NSE SME portal, but still, I'm trying to expand in the US, I'm trying to expand in Dubai, I'm trying to expand in the UK. It's hunger for growth, basically, that is not letting us sleep properly at night. So if we have certain targets, certain, you're smiling, right? So certain aspirations, we should give time for our long-term planning, Like we should have the plans with short-term horizons, mid-term horizons, and long-term horizons. And with guardrails, if things are going out of track, we should pivot without mercy or guilt as well at times. And now, like we are building a community of chartered accountants who are AI enabled. The institute started 75 years ago with an intent to have chartered accountants take care of compliance, reporting, and the other aspects, accounting. But today, like, it's totally pivoted. So it's not that those 2,700 people who are getting unemployed from Tesla would not be getting other things. As the economy grows, there are alternate means which come up for businesses, like this out of OOH media, out of home media. The billboards that you see outside. Someone told me in 2014, China is building these capabilities. You go to China, get a dealership, start the business. I said, who will watch the LED panels on the street? And how are we going to watch? It's all sun rays during the day. But today, if you see, all panels which are out there, all billboards, they're all digital. And people who are doing the actual painting, doing the flex, fixation of flex on that, they are working on those digital stuff. So we need to upgrade our skills as well at time. And it has to be constant. It has to be relentless. Relentless means when we say continuous is like we do it on a regular cadence. But relentless is if we have achieved certain goals, celebrate it at that time, but don't stop. Set up another goal which is a little ahead of that.
So I'll just
That's
add
good.
one anecdote, right? Very very, very well said answer, sir, but just maybe a... So, long time back, when the only mode of transport for human beings was bullock cart, right? So there was a very nice profession, bullock cart rider or whatever we call it. That guy used to earn a lot, right? Pride himself saying that, I own 10 bullock carts, I own 20 bullock carts, and I have employed some 30 people and all of that, right? Then all of a sudden, motor came, right? Engines came. All of a sudden, there were buses, there were this different kind of a transport. Then this guy thought, oh, I'm going to lose my job. All the people under me are going to lose their jobs. But eventually what happened, right? To drive those vehicles, they needed drivers, they needed conductors, they needed cleaners, and for managing the whole ecosystem of transportation, they needed office clerical work, they needed administrative work, right? So it had taken one sort of a work away, right? One sort of a profession away, but it created 10 different professions, right? In place of 10 people who lost their job, there were 100 who got different jobs, right? Who only thing is they had to upgrade themselves, like sir said, they had to upgrade themselves, move from the bullock cart mentality to more motorized, more automated mentality, right? So this is what is required for us, right? Think from an optimistic perspective, think from a growth mindset.
Yeah, thanks. I had a question. Sorry. The thing is that I can relate what you're saying. So, for example, I was in the Tesla car some time back in June and July. So my son was driving me, and it was so interesting. He was eating the sandwich, and the car was going on its own. Correct. And that's the benefit of an AI thing, because the artificial intelligence was guiding the car. So we were able to enjoy the scenes and everything. So here is an example. Yes, AI was useful, and we were enjoying it. But in our profession, let's say that tomorrow, where do you see chartered accountants doing what? Correct. Is my question. And let's say that we got a lot of time on our hand. What do you think that we'd be doing at that point of time? Let's say that the matching of the invoices with the expenses is done away with, correct? And we've got all of these things stabilized because they are getting automatically done. So what do you visualize CAs doing?
We were talking earlier on the change that is possible, moving out and bringing out newer job profiles, all of these. On taking the similar note, I believe, I mean, if I have to go on to the core specifics that you asked, um, churning financial reports or transactional activities is going to be the future where it is all driven by tools. That's something which nobody can even deny that. Now, what do we do? Right? In fact, many of them even asked this question directly to me because, as Nitin sir said, we run a product company. Okay, many CS said, Ganesh, you are making a job which takes close to about 7 days, 5 days. You're doing this in 2 hours. What do I do with the next 5 days? Okay. You know, some of them even openly ask, I have hired staff members. I can't let them be free. What do I do with it? So my answer to all of this was, can we think of a larger advisory stuffs that we have missed out many a times, larger consulting things that we have missed out, because if we are already on purely transactional levels, it again, even from a probably on a monetary perspective and a revenue perspective, it was not that great. You know, if we do a comparison with the lawyers, you know, as they win more cases, or probably as they grow older and older, their you know, per hearing fees goes higher and higher. Unfortunately, we have not been able to go up that ladder. So the reason primarily being we have stuck with the transactional levels, right? So if we can get out of the transactional activities, then you definitely have time for newer things like advisory stuffs, you know, cross-border transactions, which often happens to be the cup of tea of probably a big four or big firms, or probably a big, you know, the likes of big advisory firms out of the US. We do have a lot of such capabilities which we are not able to tap, mainly because of our time constraints. That's one answer. And second answer, I would say, let's spend some time with the family. Unfortunately, we have not been doing that a large. You know, I know that many a times we miss Deepavali, Dasara, Holi, Sankrantis, because it coincides with one of the other due dates. Right? I would say, on a lighter note, let's spend some time with our families as well, if AI can help us out. Thank you. Yeah, all family, health, vacations.
On a lighter note, I will add, my cost to the end customer, if I'm giving consulting services, it is maximum $250 an hour. My niece, who just qualified from her post-graduation, she's a consultant somewhere in a company. She gets $60 an hour. Her company charges $350 an hour for her services. So definitely acquiring newer skills, because she is embedded in that learning and I am not. So that is a difference. If I learn to do those kind of stuff, so I will also be able to earn more, because it's all about adding value to your customer. So today, like we say, we all have seen during our articleship days that when a senior boss was there, not our boss, like his senior partners or one generation above them. So they used to be waiting area for clients. They used to wait for 3 hours, 2 hours, at times 4 hours at times. But today, if you make some client sit like that, so they have another window, they'll go online, have a Teams meeting with another chartered accountant or a consultant from other city. So things change and you have to innovate your way of working and then upgrade these services as well, what you are trying to offer to the customer. Yeah, there was one question.
Yeah. So on the cost front, so this question is to Ms. Nitya. So in terms of the cost benefit analysis, as CFO of a startup, it baffles me every time when I try to sign the check for data center charges, right? So I used to ask them very relevant questions. I always get very vague answers and I'm not able to appreciate the kind of cost benefit analysis. In the presentation, you also said we'll have to look at long-term ramifications. One of the saying goes that in long term, we are all dead, right? So at the end of the day, as a chartered accountant, as a controller, I am not able to justify the kind of spend that I do in data center. I have not even come to AI project costs. So how is there a method to this madness where we know exactly, because most of that, say, 5 crore cost that I spend monthly, most of it goes on compute, and I don't know where that compute is. I get a very complicated, vague answer. I'm not able to look at, like, relate to a revenue that I'm getting from a customer. So how do we relate it? Is there a tool to do that, or is there some method for this to be formalized or standardized?
Okay, so when you said cost, it's the cost to the hyperscalers, right? That you're the cloud costs.
Cloud cost or AWS,
Yeah.
Azure cost, or
Yeah,
AI
yeah, yeah.
costs?
Okay, okay. See, I think you got to start right from the use case assessment, because when you said, I don't know where the costs are coming, right? We should not be at that particular state at any point, right? In this journey of cloud, adopting cloud. We should be very clear where we are putting our money, and therefore prioritizing the use cases based on the cost benefit analysis right there is very, very important, because all of this is going to kind of come together into your cloud cost. So when you are getting a cloud bill, you should be very sure why you are getting whatever that 5 crore bill is, right? Because you have already done all the assessment of the 10 use cases, 20 use cases that you have built on that cloud, right? When it comes to use cases, it's very, very important we are very usually carried away by the fanciness of the technology that we are using to build that use case. That's very typical of generative AI, right? So generative AI sells. Anything generative AI, everybody is ready to put money into it. But we got to stay, being a CFO, right? It's important to be staying grounded, right? First and foremost, is it a problem worth solving? Secondly, is generative AI the only solution, or I can do it with some very simple linear regression, which is not even a fraction of the cost of generative AI? Very, very important. You can't. You can't. I know. You got to empathize with the AWSs of the world and Azures of the world. They can only tell you based on the number of nodes or the VMs that you are consuming, the number of the amount of storage. For example, now I cannot quote examples for CA, but if I say sales data, right? My sales data is being used across use cases. Right? My customer data is being used across use cases. I cannot say that if I'm incurring X dollar because of my, the data product around sales, I can attribute it 10% of this to this use case and 20%. We cannot do that. It's very, very difficult. It's difficult for us, and it's difficult also for the hyperscaler, because they charge you by node, they charge you by compute. They cannot say for very sure which of those use cases, and therefore due diligence right at the start, which is at the level of use cases, is very important, so that towards the end, even if it is collectively 5 crore, you feel happy, okay about it, because you've already factored that in when you were planning your use cases. Yeah.
I get to understand from a CA minds. I just want to answer this question, right? I've been in this situation multiple times where I get an AWS bill which is beyond 50% of my budget. It is overshot. You suddenly see sometimes it was 10 lakhs a month, suddenly it shows up 40 lakhs. It's like crazy, right? You budgeted last month and said 10 lakhs. All of a sudden you see a 40 lakh bill. What's happening? Is that relevant? Okay. I will go on to my own experiences, how we were able to, probably it could be a small anecdote, but technologists do not understand costing. Please don't mind. When I say technologists do not understand costing, I primarily meant to say, for example, I have a need to run a VM, a virtual machine. I just need to spin off an instance. They see that there is a need. Probably I, as a chartered accountant, I went back and I asked, how often will you use this VM or an instance? Or somebody, in my own case, in my own organization, one RDS was, triggered. I asked, okay, for this RDS instance, what's the usage? I said, all the technical jargons. I said, keep that all aside. When will you use this RDS? I said, what do you mean by when will you use? I said, from morning to evening will you use or every, because if you just see the AWS bills, it goes by the hourly bills, right? I just asked, okay, what if I shut down the machine at the nights? Possible? I said, very much possible. Only in cases where somebody is working late nights, they will have a issue. I said, okay, what if I have to turn it on? 5 minutes job, okay, good. I've saved 12 hours of my RDS bill and told them that like night you are not working, why should I keep those instances on? If you need to switch it on, probably you need to spend another 5 minutes. So if you can go back to your cloud costs, talk to your DevOps guys and ask them what each of these costs are attributed to. Can that be reduced or not? You will be the one who will be able to judge, not the developers or the DevOps folks. They would always come back and say it's relevant. They would always say it's relevant.
Yeah, and just one more thing, right? It's also about the VMs and scaling them in, scaling them out. It's also about your storage, right? So usually when you are working on machine learning model, you have, and since we spoke about AWS, we tend to take in a lot of data onto our S3 storage and then onto our Redshift or wherever we are storing. So for training the models. And after we have completed the training, we don't do the housekeeping of removing the unwanted data in development, right? Once your model is in production, you don't need this much of a data in your development, right? So these are some of the areas, right? From a storage perspective also, keep only the amount of data that you require for your inferences and for running your models in the production. And that is apart from, working on your VM. And therefore, what he mentioned is very important, that you have a cockpit of all your cloud expenditure, right? Of course, you cannot attribute to use cases, but you can say in which buckets are you incurring these, expenses. Is it storage? Is it compute? Or whatever it is. And then you kind of, think about intuitively in scaling that up or down. Yeah.
You need a consultant on this who can assess. No, this is a business opportunity, a professional opportunity for others, like what else we can do, right? So this is an area we can go, and there are certain platforms which are available which can do the assessment for you and which can do the auto switching off and switching on of the data as well. And mostly the testing what your people do, you don't realize how much data you consume for the testing. The client work is separate. So yeah, you can do a thorough audit for it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Last one personal note from my side. Actually, people are asking what we do and what will happen. See, this is a personal experience. See, presently, I am from industry, okay? So now, one point, what I can tell is, with the AI, I got confidence, okay? The point here is, whatever the job the company is giving, whether it is related to legal matters, tax matters, mergers and acquisitions, okay, I have a chance now, okay, so to go to Google, YouTube earlier, now AI in with the prompts, right prompts, okay, so that gives a confidence to take up the advisory, whatever you mentioned, okay, to the practice. I'm doing the same thing in my job, okay, so now with remotely, I manage my job now, with the teams in my mobile and all these things. Don't quote me. Yeah, of course, my manager knows that. Okay, and I am able to learn new things. So the technology, how we, like that we can develop our personal skills. I think you can, specifically when my neighbor is asking this question, I just want to share my experience. So thanks for this wonderful session, and to the branch to introducing the certification course. I am eager to join that session. Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. I know it's an interesting conversation, I would say, rather than question answers, because there are many things, many doubts to be addressed. But unfortunately, for the paucity of time, we will have to end this. And thanks to the, yeah.
Special thanks So I was saying a special thanks to all the last men and women standing here, because you look behind, there is nobody. But thank you so much for staying along and asking all the relevant questions, and I hope we were able to kind of give you all the best answers possible. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. All the concerns were addressed in a very meaningful way, which is, and in a simple way, I would say, not without any jargon. So thank you to all the three of you for sparing your time with us. Thank you. The last formality of the day is to propose the vote of thanks. So I would like to propose vote of thanks. First of all, to the committee of AI in ICI, which gave us this opportunity to host, and all of you have been very happy about it. So the committee and the chairman of the committee, the Aniva Sharma, to him to giving us this opportunity. Our Central Council member, Kotai Srinivas, who was there through the day and then helped us in this program. And all the speakers who were there through the day and shared their knowledge, valuable time they spent with us, and then gave us an insight into this. Of course, the venue, this wouldn't have been possible with the venue partners, AV, photographer, and the videographers. Thank you to you both also. Staff of ICI branch, without whom this program, we couldn't have put together this program. And the most important, to all the delegates. Without your participation, there is nothing possible, and thank you for your active participation. See you next. So good night, and see you all in the next event. Thank you.